Hello and welcome back to the kitchen. We are going to be making meatloaf today. Oh, meatloaf. You are either loved or hated. I have a feeling that the people that don't like meatloaf though have not had good meatloaf. So let's see if we can change their minds, or in this case, your mind. I actually got this meatloaf recipe sort of from my ex-mother-in-law. It's one of the few good things that came out of that whole thing. She made the best meatloaf. Now my mom made it when I was a kid. Granny made it when I was a kid, I'm sure. I actually don't remember all that much. Michelle's meatloaf was so good. I kind of winged it with this recipe years and years ago. Obviously, you don't necessarily contact your ex-mother-in-law and say, can I have your meatloaf recipe? Even if I didn't like your son. We've got our meatloaf recipe. As I said, have kind of winged this, but it turns out really good. So what do we got in it? We have got ground meat. You notice I don't say ground hamburger, although you can use hamburger. You've got egg, you've got breadcrumbs, onion, pepper, and especially if you're not using ground hamburger, Worcestershire sauce. Or when you can't say that very well without thinking, Lean parents. I will get generic of a lot of different things, I don't care. But when it comes to the Worcestershire sauce, it's always Lean parents. So once again, as we always do, we're gonna move over to the island. We're gonna take a look at how things are put together, and then we'll talk about how it goes in the oven, how it's formed and all that. Let's go ahead and move. We have meatloaf. You can see this recipe's been used an awful lot. It's got a lot of, yeah. I also have this on my computer just in case, although it is mostly in my head and we don't necessarily follow the exact recipe. Cat not following the exact recipe. Yeah. We have got, meatloaf will end up inside the ring if I leave the ring on. Okay, so I'll set you over there. We've got our turkey in our bowl. Duh. This particular is Butterball. I don't care if it's Food Lion brand, Publix brand, Walmart brand, don't care. But we're in the middle of COVID, so getting turkey is a joy to even get. So we will take it. However, I do buy Butterball often enough because they have a turkey for beef lovers, and that is really good. Otherwise, don't care. Beef lovers do love, and it does taste like beef. We've got our turkey. Let's take off the Fitbit. We've already got our ring off. We've got hot water. We've got frozen onion. And you want to see? It's frozen. I'm doing this to show you two things. Number one, you can freeze onion, have it anytime you want. Also, if you forget to take it out ahead of time, doesn't matter. You are still set to be able to use onion in whatever recipe you want to use it in. That's always nice. So we've got our onion, it's thawing. We've got our turkey. Now I do things in a very specific order, and you don't have to. You just don't. We're gonna take our egg. I always put the egg last. I like messing with the yolk. Yes. Weird, but sure. We've got a Parmesan Romano blend, Food Lion brand, or I'm sorry, Walmart brand. Doesn't matter. The hubby doesn't like Parmesan. I don't care either way. He will eat the Romano, although honestly he doesn't really like the Romano as much either. But in something, he is just fine. I'm right-handed. We have got our Romano Parmesan blend in there. We're gonna put in our pepper. I should do this. Well, that's not any pepper. Okay, got our pepper. How much? Depends on how much you like pepper. That looks about right. Oftentimes what I do is 20 grinds for most stuff, but this thing has been having issues. It needs to be cleaned. I've had it for 7-8 years. Maybe I just need a new one. So we've got our pepper. We've got our cheese. We have got our onions. So the onions are thawed. Now this is kind of onion mush, which is not ideal because my food processor was not as great with dicing onions as I would have liked. We're gonna cut off the corner. and let it just mush on out. It's a little bit more onion than I usually do in the meatloaf, but it's fine. Onion mush, but like I said, it tastes really good. I've got our lei and parent, and what do I have down for lei and parent? 3 splashes. We're gonna shake it up first and do blink, blink, blink. Okay. When we get into the breadcrumbs, I may or may not use a full cup. I may use 1.5 cups. What I want to be able to do is just grab the breadcrumbs. Now, turkey doesn't bother me like chicken does. You do still have to be careful because it is still poultry. We're going to take our breadcrumbs. We are going to put, let's go with about 3/4 in there. Then we're going to put like 1/2 cup in the thing. That way I don't have to touch the container, so I can keep it clean, but I can still add more. Now we're going to add the egg. We've got our egg. Bloop. That's pretty impressive for me. You may have noticed that the recipe calls for 2 pounds of ground whatever. I only put 1 pound. For everything else, that's fine. For the egg, I kind of want to not use so much egg. What I will do is I will take my 1/3 cup. We're going to break this. We're going to take our 1/3 cup. We're going to go ahead and put all of that in there. And you did hear me say that I kind of like playing with the egg yolk. The egg yolk goes in because it's yummy. And just egg yolks. It's like this little mushy, perfect round, but not perfect round. If it goes in there, I got a little shell. So we're going to put a little bit more in there, and then that's all we're adding. Meatloaf. We're going to mix it all together because that's how meatloaf works. It's not going to change every time as far as ingredients go, as far as the breadcrumbs go, but I do want to show you what it kind of looks like. So that is actually not too bad. If that is how you like your meatloaf, then you can do it there. You don't have to necessarily use all the breadcrumbs. If you like it a little bigger, you can use the breadcrumbs to extend the meat. It just means you have more food for more people. This is 1 pound of turkey. This is, and it shouldn't be, but this is about 1.5 meals for us, the way we like our meatloaf. So it's mixed. It still sticks together. It looks pretty good. I am going to extend it though, because that's what I like to do. That should be good. We have meatloaf. Now there are multiple ways that you can cook it. What kind of pan you can cook it in. You can cook it in a loaf pan. You can cook it in a cookie sheet. You can cook it in one of those kind of roaster things with the grate in it. I do a cookie sheet. Okay. Used to use like a casserole type thing, but now I use the cookie sheet. Now this, for me, takes 1 hour to cook, depending on how thick I make it. You can make this flat. You can make this into little individual meatloafs. So you could make a bunch of those, 1 per person, blah, blah, blah. I just make 1 big one, mostly because that's what I'm used to. I do, however, get a little particular when it comes to the shape of my meatloaf. So I'm going to get this way. I'm going to roll it a little bit. There's a couple different ways you can do this. I have used wax paper and just kind of gotten it in wax paper to make it the size that I want. You can do it by hand. There's some guy out there going, oh, she's playing with her meat. Unfortunately, that some guy is sometimes my husband. We have a meatloaf. There is something to be said for making it even as well. It will cook easier throughout and more evenly if it's about the same size. There, we have our meatloaf. Incidentally, you will see the #1 tinfoil. He does the dishes. I make it easy for him. And this is non-stick. And I've always thought that was really silly because it's tinfoil. it makes a difference. It's a little more expensive. My husband calls it the Cadillac of tinfoil. But I only use it when something is actually likely to stick. You would have seen me use this with the asparagus, so I will use it with that. But when I'm putting it under the roaster pan, I don't use it because it doesn't matter. We have our meatloaf. We are going to get this in the oven. We're going to set it for about 25 minutes and then start checking it. So now let's go ahead, get this in that oven, and we're going to go back to our normal spot. Meatloaf is cooking. It's probably about a little over half done, maybe 3/4 of the way done. Now, just like chicken, you can test it with your meat thermometer, kitchen thermometer, whatever you decide to call it. So we can check it and get an idea. Again, just like chicken, you want it to be about 160 something. So we are good there. So now let's start up. We're gonna take this down. Brussels sprouts. I do love my Brussels sprouts. We've got a steamer. I use a silicone one instead of the metal one. Works out really nice. A little easier to clean. Hubby got them for me a number of years ago. This one and a little one. I never used the little one. Do enough water so that there's not water in the steamer. There's none standing up. So we're good there. Let's get our kitchen scissors. Behave. Brussels sprouts. Now, unlike I have in the past, we are not adding anything to the Brussels sprouts. We're leaving them plain. Brussels sprouts are fantastic. I have liked Brussels sprouts since I was a little kid. You couldn't get me to eat chocolate ice cream and I hated peanut butter, but you could feed me Brussels sprouts and spinach all day long. Not normal. The other thing we are going to prepare, we're going to do sweet potatoes. Some people do it in the oven, some people don't. I do not. I do them in the microwave. One of the things I learned from my current mother-in-law. You want to make sure they're washed off and clean. You want to make sure you poke some holes in it, and then we're going to throw them in the microwave. We have washed sweet potatoes. We've got a couple little spots on them, which we are going to take out. Be very careful with these things. I still have a wound. It still friggin' hurts. There it is. It still hurts. It's been like a week and a half. We want to take out any of the little weird looking bits. Not usually too bad though. We usually don't have sweet potatoes have a real problem. We've got a little eye bit right there. All right, and then I usually do cut off the ends because the ends are usually kind of gross. So we're gonna take that, we're gonna chop it, we're gonna take this. Well, sweet potato. Let's take the rest of that. We have a garbage disposal, so it's safe. We have our cooking fork. We're going to just poke some holes. This will keep your potato from blowing up in your microwave, which I can imagine would suck. No, I haven't done it. Also have never blown up a egg. I think I'm doing pretty good. Okay, just gonna poke some holes. And we are gonna stick these babies in the microwave for about 6 minutes. We're gonna check them, and then we're gonna put them in for another 5, 6, 7. Okay, there we go. In our microwave, 6 minutes, and we start. My Brussels sprouts are starting to steam. Now again, timing. Our meatloaf is a little more done than I expected. That's the thing, you can't be sure. Depends on how big you make it, whatever. So I made it a little smaller, I think, than usual. So it's actually cooked most of the way through. So what I've done is I've taken the oven down to about 300. It'll keep it warm. It'll make sure it's still cooked all the way through, but it's not as hot. Our Brussels sprouts, however, these little buggers, holy shit, sometimes they take longer, and again, it all comes down to size. If we look, let's see if I can burn myself with one. Nope, little tiny Brussels sprout, decent sized little Brussels sprout. Guess what's gonna cook faster? You only get as much consistency as you possibly can, which you're not gonna get most of the time. So that's gonna cook. These are gonna they'll probably be done before the sweet potatoes, maybe. but they can be held. That's not a big deal. We've got the sweet potatoes in the microwave. We got the meatloaf is in the oven, and the Brussels sprouts are cooking. So instead of making you sit here and wait for all of that, we'll go ahead and we'll come back. All right, we'll take a peek at the Brussels sprouts. We're gonna see, oh yeah, they've easily got 5 minutes to go maybe. How do you know? It's all practice, just like drawing or painting. Sweet potatoes. Just like drawing or painting or video games or riding a bike or whatever. Practice. You don't know until you start doing it. Those are still cooking. Let's take a peek. Sweet potatoes get very, very hot, or at least they do in our microwave. We're gonna take these out. We're gonna put these right here. Can you see them there? Yeah. Take off our top. Grab our cooking fork, and you can see it's not going in all that easily, but it's still going in. Now watch this. Yeah. So that gives you an idea. You can see. And if you see me keep glancing over here, it's so I can see what's going on there. If you take a peek, you can see it's kind of like a little, sort of darker spot. So we want to roll them. So we're going to roll them over. Now you can see it a lot more on that one. You can see a lot of wet. We're going to make sure they're rolled over. I'm going to make sure we're good. There we go. Cover them back up so they don't make a mess in the microwave. Put that back in there, and we're gonna go with another 6 minutes. And again, we wait. A lot of cooking is wait, except for Thanksgiving. Well, no, Thanksgiving's a lot of wait, and then all of a sudden everything has to be done at once. We'll go ahead and come back when we get the sweet potatoes ready. Sweet potatoes, 3 minutes. Brussels sprouts. Might be a little longer than 3 minutes. Brussels sprouts are going to end up being after the damn sweet potatoes. The Brussels sprouts are misbehaving. All right, so the Brussels sprouts decided to win the who's going to take the longest competition today, which is common. Brussels sprouts are kind of a hard one. Foggy. It depends on their denseness, how frozen they are, how much they blanched them when they froze them, whatever. So we've got like this one, hard to get through, and then we've got this one, just easy to get through. But I basically poke a bunch of them and see if the majority of them poke easily, that one or two little not quite cooked ones will cook. Our Brussels sprouts are good, our meatloaf is good, our sweet potatoes are good. Now again, I said, sweet potatoes get very, very hot. Use your oven mitts. The other neat thing about sweet potatoes is you can cook them a little early, and you can then, yes, I'm leaving this open because it gets so humid in there. It'll get a smell if you don't. You can do the sweet potatoes, say the Brussels sprouts will probably take 10 minutes. We're gonna go with a number. Between heating up the water and cooking the Brussels sprouts, I think this actually took like 12 or 13. But that's gonna happen. We can take the sweet potatoes and do them 5 minutes before that, and they will get hot, they will get cooked. But if you leave them in the microwave, they'll stay warm. They will cook a little more, so be careful with that. You don't want to do them like 10 minutes ahead and then let them sit in there. They will either get cold, which is less likely, or they'll kind of overcook just because they're hot. So we've got sweet potatoes, and the sweet potatoes are going to go there. The Brussels sprouts are done. You do that, stay. You can do, actually I'll just go ahead and do it so I can show you. Can we see this? All right. You do this, and they'll stay in there. Then you can take your water. Out you go. Off. Brussels sprouts in the mix. And now we have Brussels sprouts. Those are going right here. Yes, everything in its place. And now our meatloaf that apparently my Reynolds wrap decided not to stick to the thing either. That is a beautiful thing. You can take this, you can do what they call tenting it, which means you take tin foil and you put it on top and whatever. I know. So there is our meal, and we are ready to eat. I hope you try this recipe. It is really, really good. I have had great luck with this meatloaf. I have taken people that either prefer ketchup or tomato sauce on their meatloaf and converted them with this. I have taken people that don't like meatloaf. I'm trying to count on my fingers. I've taken people who don't like meatloaf, converted them with this. I've had a lot of people ask me for this recipe, and I can't take full credit for it. Like I said, it's one of the few things that I got to take away from my first marriage that was wonderful. All right, try this recipe. Let me know down in the comments how you liked it. Please add a like onto the video and subscribe if you haven't. You guys have a good day, and I will see you next time in the kitchen.